My name is Ms. Urias. I am the school counselor at Lost Hills Union School District, and today we're going to talk a little bit about mental health basics. So what exactly is mental health? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects the way we think, feel, and act when we face life or any of its problems. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make decisions. Why is it important? So it is important because it can help you tackle life's problems. It can help you be physically healthy. If you're not okay up here, you probably won't be okay in your physical body. It can help you have healthy relationships and help you determine what's good and what's bad in a relationship, what you like and don't like, what you deserve or don't deserve. And that way you'll be able to have better, happier, healthier relationships. It can also help you be a contribution to your community. Someone that is mentally healthy and mentally competent and mentally okay is more than likely will more than likely go out into the community, volunteer or help out or find a way to make the community a better place. It can also help you work more productively when you're in a good mental health I guess in a mental health spot, you're more likely to be able to concentrate on work, be able to multitask, do things a little bit faster and with more accuracy, and then also reach your potential. So if you're mentally, okay, and you have a pretty good mental health and you feel good about it, then you will be able to reach whatever goal you set your mind to. But when we don't have good mental health, we tend to stumble upon some mental illnesses. And what are they? They are serious conditions that can affect the way you deal with your mood, your behavior, the way you think, and they can be occasional or long lasting. They can affect your ability to relate to others and function every day. Mental health problems are common. More than half of all Americans will be diagnosed with a mental disorder at some point in their lives. However, treatments are available. People with mental health problems can improve, and many of them make a full recovery. Usually, this includes a therapist, maybe a psychiatric evaluation to see if someone needs medication to help their mental illnesses or mental health problems. But more than likely, following these two prescriptions usually help someone overcome whatever mental health issue is bothering them at the time, or it can help them at least live with it and make their life a little bit easier. One of the major things that I see just across the board and at school with adults and teens and even children is anxiety. For certain people, it just does not go away, and sometimes without treatment or without any help, it may get worse over time. Sometimes when you feel a lot of anxiety, you get chest pains. People have nightmares. Some people are afraid to leave their house. When anxiety starts to be so much that we can't function in our daily life, that is called an anxiety disorder. Now, some of these disorders are panic disorder, which usually means panic attacks. Panic attacks are a manifestation of all the anxiety one carries in their brain. They usually result in a panic attack, which is a heart beating super fast, 1,000 thoughts racing through your mind at like 1,000 miles per hour, clammy, sweaty hands. Your muscles feel kind of tired. But the major one is that you have really bad shortness of breath. So the hard breathing, not being able to breathe normally, usually accompanies a panic attack. We also have obsessive compulsive disorder, which is a lot of people joke about OCD, but it's really a very sad, I think, anxiety disorder. With this disorder, is really hard to kind of function in your daily life, and some of the manifestations of that are It bases itself on routines, but I'm not talking about like waking up, eating breakfast, going to work, coming home, going to the gym routine. It's more like I have to wash my hands 37 times at 1:13 p.m. or else I will just go completely bonkers. Or I have to touch the doorknob of my door 12 times before I can leave the house. So obsessive compulsive disorder is just a really big manifestation of whatever we're carrying inside in our brain. And sadly, you know, it can be very interrupting to daily life, and a lot of people don't know how to help others with it, but it does exist out there, and it is part of the anxiety disorder umbrella. Another thing is the post-traumatic stress disorder, and we see this a lot in veterans. We see this a lot in victims of abuse. We see this a lot in someone who's just experienced something totally derailing in their life. So, for example, a veteran that comes from a war, they'll definitely have post-traumatic stress from whatever they saw over there, or even like during 4th of July and there's fireworks in the sky and the loud booms is enough to send somebody into a panic when they're a veteran and they have PTSD is what we call it. Another thing is victims of abuse, victims of rape. They usually do have post-traumatic stress, and they need a little bit more love and care to kind of help them deal with that. We also have phobias, and these can range from something silly like I'm scared of balloons to I'm really afraid of like the end of the world coming. So these phobias are really irrational fears that um, we can't control. We just know that we're scared of, you know, these things, and we don't know why. So the fear is so great that it interferes with our daily life, and sometimes things can that we're scared of can really impede in our lives. So, for example, someone can be afraid of the sun, for example, and they won't leave their house ever. So things like that are definitely more of an anxiety fit in the anxiety umbrella. And then the last one, the one that mostly everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people suffer from, is generalized anxiety disorder. And this one, there's no like pinpoint symptoms, but it's more of like, okay, I'm worrying about this and I'm worrying about that, and I can't worry about this thing because I'm already worrying about this other thing. It's being always constantly, your mind is racing. It's hard to sleep, for example. It's hard to concentrate. It's hard to relax your mind. That's generalized anxiety. It's that you're always anxious. It never turns off and never really seems to be suppressed. You just always live with that anxiety, and it's always in you, and you don't even know why. Another one of our or the big one of the biggest mental health I guess issues that I've seen is depression. Depression is a brain disorder. There are many causes, including biological, environmental, and psychological factors. It's more than like feeling sad for a few days. These feelings usually persist and interfere with your daily life. Depression can start at any age, but it usually starts in the youth or like in your teens. Um, some of the symptoms are you feel sad or empty. You have loss of interest in your favorite activities. You sleep too much or you don't sleep enough. You feel hopeless, irritable, anxious, or guilty, and you have ideas of death or suicide. Now, depression, it really comes from a lack of serotonin in the brain. So we have a lot of neurotransmitters in our brain that, you know, fire signals into our neural receptors, and that's how we do things on a daily basis. So let's say if you wanted to move your right arm, you wanted to raise your right arm, your brain sends a little signal to this other little connection in your brain that's telling it, hey, raise your right arm, raise your right arm. So in between the space of neurotransmitters, of neuroreceptors, there is a gap of just matter that the neurotransmitter is sending the signal, and this one hopefully picks it up. Sometimes the brain is shooting signals to the neurotransmitter, but this one never picks it up and it stays in the middle. So when that happens, we usually have a lack of something in our brain. When it comes to depression, we have a lack of serotonin in our brain. That means that somewhere in our brain, the neurotransmitters are not communicating, so that's why you feel low. That's why you feel sad. That's why you lose interest in whatever activity, and you just are not yourself. So it's really a biological thing. It's really a thing in our brain that makes us feel this way. And I think the worst thing about depression is that it can lead to suicide if not treated or if not found early enough. So if we let these feelings consume us, eventually with no help or no support, we won't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and our life is gonna be just a black, I guess, abyss of just nothingness. And that's why a lot of people tend to commit suicide. They don't see the light and they don't get the help that they need, sadly. Another big thing and another big issue in school or just even in real life is bullying. And that means when a group of people or a single person assaults another person without their consent. So that can be physical, verbal, and relational. So for example, physical punches, kicks, stealing things, hiding someone's stuff, damaging it, or force someone else to do something against their will, that's physical bullying. Verbal bullying, as you guys know, teasing, naming somebody a nickname, oh, look at that, like orange head or something like that, like those kinds of things are bullying. Insulting another people, threatening them to, hey, if you don't do this, I'm going to beat you up after school. Spreading rumors or false sayings about another person, that's verbal bullying. And then relational, that is more of, you're not really doing something to someone, but you're saying like, oh, I'm not going to play with her today, or oh, let's not invite him to our party. So that's relational bullying. You're excluding others and you're encouraging others to exclude that person. That tends to happen a lot in school. Sometimes it's covert. We don't really see it like in our face. Sometimes it happens behind adults' backs or teachers, but sadly it does happen. And usually what I've seen is that like bigger students usually bully smaller students. Well, because it's like a power struggle there, and the taller or the stronger student is gonna pick on somebody that's a little bit smaller, a little bit to where they think if they're easier to manipulate, they'll pick on that student. This is a big one also, self-esteem. I think a lot of students suffer with self-esteem, and even some adults still. Self-esteem is a degree to which we feel good about ourselves. So obviously a person with high self-esteem is going to be confident. They're going to be, walking with a pep in their step. They're going to be sure of themselves. They're going to feel loved and accepted by others. They're going to be proud of what they do and proud of their accomplishments, and they're going to believe in themselves. Now, this person is, at least for me, that's very admirable. Someone that has a high self-esteem and is secure with themselves. And I think we should all strive to be like that with ourselves and not be so hard on each other or ourselves. And a person with low self-esteem, they'll feel bad about themselves. They're too hard on themselves, and they'll think that they are less than others. So low self-esteem can be it can even be physical, like somebody slouching their shoulders, or oh, I'm not gonna wear that because I don't look good in it, or even I guess not to get too emotional, but settling for less, knowing that they deserve something better. That can be all low self-esteem. And I think that I guess as people that are, or at least me as a counselor that's working at the school, and I want the best for the students, I'll do my best to try to teach them about what self-esteem is and how we can raise that up and be sure of ourselves. Because then low self-esteem can be, triggering to like anxiety, and it can trigger depression, for example. So I think it's wise for all of us to work together to have high self-esteem, and to teach our students to have high self-esteem too. And that's it for my presentation. So I hope you learned a little bit about, some mental health basics. Very short, very sweet. If you have any other questions, my phone number is on the screen, and it's 661-797-3053. I'll try my best to help you out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.